President, distinguished guests on the dais, ladies and gentlemen, I remind myself of the case of a speaker where he was speaking, somebody in the audience got up with a gun. So he told the speaker, you can go on, it's not you that I want to kill, but the guy who brought you here. So in this respect, that's you, exactly. And secondly, with all due modesty, which is one of the main characteristics of anybody working in any foreign office, I would say that for a speech to be immortal, it doesn't have to be eternal.
Our aim here is to chart the different approaches, analyze them, and possibly offer solutions to existing problems. While we must maintain freedom of speech as an important principle of democracy, we must consider how to prevent it from being abused. We added tours of the city and its surroundings, which are directly connected to the history of the Jewish people. Now, over 65 years since the Holocaust, we believe that there is a different Germany, who is a friend of Israel. We remember the past and can never forget it. But we must look to the future with confidence and do whatever we can to ensure that what happened can never be repeated. From this podium, I call out in the name of the International Association of Jewish Lawyers and Jurists to the free world to assemble in a joint effort to combat this obvious threat to Israel and the world at large. As we meet here in the now serene city of Berlin, in the heart of Europe, we hope that in our small way, we can make our contribution to a better, safer, and more joyful life for all of us on this earth.
After the Holocaust, Konrad Adenauer, whose political legacy we feel bound to, considered moral and financial restitution to the Jewish people an obligation of the Germans and part of the restoration of the constitutional state in Germany, even though this could ultimately only be symbolic in nature. Adenauer therefore urged for reparations, payments to be made, and for support to be provided for the building of the Israeli state. Let me stress, first of all, it is more than regrettable that there should be occasion for dealing with the topic at all. But we are still faced with instances of denial and trivialization of the atrocities of the Nazi regime even today. The internet allows us to obtain helpful information from all parts of the world in seconds, from virtually any location. There are also possibilities for disseminating extremist contents, glorifying violence, or, for that matter, for denying or distorting historic truth in the front of the eyes of the entire cyber world. We are guided by the conviction that citizens need to know their rights and responsibilities to be able to play an active role in a democratic state. Maybe there should be more similar virtual stumbling stones on the internet in order to counteract statements of Holocaust denial or tribalization.
This is a topic which, on the one hand, has in its first part, Holocaust denial and freedom of speech, been debated for a very long time. On the other hand, the second part of the headline adds a new dimension to the problem, since it will be discussed under the aspect of new media, the internet era. In my opinion, this goes to show that some people accept the internet as an institution, maybe even as a godlike authority, with the fatal consequence that information on the internet is taken to be true, without looking at the source or the facts behind it. One of the major issues in this respect is the question how to deal with behavior that crosses state borders, but is a punishable act in only one of the respective countries. Holocaust denial is an offense in very few countries, including Germany, for obvious reasons.
This is certainly a topic that exceeds legal aspects, but it is also a topic which lies in the specific focus of lawyers in their role as counsel for the rule of law, civil rights and freedom of speech, and at the same time as counsel for truthfulness, justice, and historical awareness. A further necessity to help to prevent Holocaust denial is commemoration, to keep alive the knowledge of what happened and the memory of every single victim and his or her personal fate. We are very grateful for all the help we received and still receive, in particular from our colleagues in Israel and from descendants and relatives of the persecuted Jewish lawyers, to find out more about our former colleagues, their life and their suffering in Germany and other countries after emigration. And we do hope that a continuous effort to commemorate the personal fate of every single victim of Nazi persecution will help to prevent Holocaust denial and keep alive the historical awareness of what happened in this dark chapter of German history. The German Federal Bar and the Israel Bar are organizing regular visits of young German lawyers in Israel and young Israel lawyers in Germany, which has not only created personal lasting friendships, but also a deep historical awareness which will hopefully be carried on to the next generations. I'm looking forward to learn more from this conference of what must and can be done to prevent the Holocaust denial and to uphold and extend the commemoration of the Jewish victims of the Nazi era.
Today, we live in a unique time, the age of the internet. The web is literally the most powerful communication and information tool of the history of the world. Google, as you all know, is part of the internet. Google was created and thrives on the idea of free flow of information and free speech. One reality of the internet is the tremendous amount of information. Just to provide you with some numbers, it is estimated that about 5 hexabytes of data was created from the beginning of history until 2002. This is roughly the amount of data that the world produces now every 2 days. So only on Google's video platform, YouTube, 48 hours of additional video material is uploaded every single minute. We believe that the most efficient way to fight bad information is to give people access to good information. The internet has fundamentally positive impact, as it's easier than ever for people around the world to communicate, to share ideas, and to understand each other. And today, the internet is probably the best place to learn about the Holocaust, fascism, racism, and this is where Google can also play an important role. And since more than 3 years, we support a campaign called 361 Degrees. That's a campaign for more respect and tolerance on schools, together with the German federal government. And we support the Amadeo Antonio Foundation within their new network, Netz gegen Nazis, and their recent initiative, NoNazi.net, a program dedicated particularly to the education of children in order to avoid that they fall for Nazi propaganda on social networks. These initiatives will not make the internet a place free from sick ideas. But nevertheless, we think it's an important step into the right direction to make the internet a better place, to fight fascism and racism, and to guarantee access to information and freedom of speech at the same time. Google will continue to contribute to this process and will partner with many, including the different Jewish organizations. A walk through Berlin, a look at the Holocaust site memorial, or at the synagogue in Oranienburger Straße, all this reminds us of the darkest years of German history, of the break with civilization that is the Shoah. Keeping alive the memory of the victims of the Shoah and recalling the atrocities of the Holocaust requires first and foremost the freedom of speech and freedom of thought are guaranteed in a society. In Nazi Germany, censorship dominated the lives of all ordinary Germans and put an end to these civil liberties. That is why after World War II, the German constitution, the so-called Grundgesetz or Basic Law, afforded the freedom of speech and the freedom of press with special protection and gave them the status of basic rights. Looking back to the last 60 years, it is fair to say that these provisions in the German Basic Law have contributed a lot to the overcoming the years of dictatorship and the emergence of a new democratic German state. German responsibility for the State of Israel is one of the pillars of our foreign policy, shared by all political parties, and guides the German engagement in the Middle East. Germany's responsibility for Israel's security not only requires us to seek for peace between Israel and its neighbors. There is also a regional dimension to it, which Mrs. Kohn, you have already mentioned. Today, those countries demanding peace and security in the Middle East must stand up against the threat posed by the Iranian nuclear program. The German government is highly concerned about the most recent report of the IAEA on Iran's nuclear program and its findings on the possible military dimension of the program. To combat Holocaust denial in the internet era, we need both strong regulations protecting freedom of speech and press, as well as effective legislation restricting this very freedom and penalizing racial hatred. Germany has a special responsibility in this respect. This responsibility requires us to stand in for the right of existence of Israel, not only with legal means, but also in terms of our foreign policy, as I tried to explain earlier. In the German-Israeli partnership, responsibility for the past and willingness to shape the future are closely tied together. To keep both in view is an ambitious task. Let me finish by expressing my hope that our countries will succeed in assuming this task and developing relations in a lively, dynamic friendship that future generations will carry on with pride.
I want to sum it up. It's my personal opinion. We were very impressed with the monuments that were established here to the dead. We were very impressed with the ceremony that took place on the 27th of January several years ago to commemorate the liberation of Auschwitz, where 55 heads of state were there to express their condolences to the Jewish people, very humbly. And I know that I will be treated as being on the extreme right. Today, the Jewish people in Israel, we have one monument, and the monument is the State of Israel, which is a very living one. Thank you very much.